Okay, I'm actually looking for help with two main issues. You can see here on this site that was made, there's basically five navigation menus. There's the home page, which I'm clicking on, and hopefully that will load relatively quickly. There's the blog page, the About Us page, and the search listings. When I click on the neighborhoods page, though, I seem to get this illegal offset type. Now I will say that I have, where is it here? Appearance, menus. I'm already in it. Okay. I have three menus I've created: a primary menu, a neighborhood menu, and a place menu. So right now it's drawing from the main menu. As you can see, as home, neighborhoods, blog, about us, search listings. It seems to be causing some kind of conflict with the taxonomy file. Here I have actually my functions file open, and I registered and enabled these menus. So if you can just pause on that and take a look at it. Here's the keys. But you know what's interesting? I made this before I actually decided to approach it from the actual admin panel side. So I don't even know if this is doing anything. So I'm not certain. And one thing I did do is I created a few different header files. Um, as you can see here, I have a, sorry, let me get back to where I actually needed to be. Here we go. So I have a header for the categories, and we'll get into that later. But this particular header is called header_internal.php, and here I have the file open, and essentially this is my arguments variable for an array that's just activating this menu. As you can see, I've tried a few different things. I've tried theme location, main menu, menu, primary menu, again drawing from this key. But right now I've just left it on menu, main menu, and it just, all of these lead to the same thing. Actually, except if I do this quickly, and I just hide this one, let me save it, just give it a second, I'm gonna refresh it. You'll see that it brings all these menus, but it seems to fix that taxonomy issue. So I don't know, I'm just kind of, I need help with that. That's my first problem, and the main one right now. The second task that I need help with, let me just put this back to where it was. The second task I need help with is I'm using the advanced post types plugin, custom post types plugin, and with that I've created this custom post type called neighborhoods. When you we don't really need to add neighborhoods, but essentially all these neighborhoods that I've created have, when you go in them, have a main title, which declares the actual name of the neighborhood. That's what this list is being drawn from. I can give access to that file to someone eventually, but I'm just trying to let you know this is where these names are coming from, and it's just taking a while to load here. But that's where these names are drawn from. When I actually click onto a neighborhood, I go to that neighborhood page. And let me just pause this. Okay, here's a neighborhood page. Adams Morgan, the one that you just saw. Now every neighborhood page has places inside of the neighborhood, like different buildings and houses and things like that. Has a gallery, history, and points of interest. This all seems to work fine. The last developer I had, you'll notice here it says neighborhood Adams Morgan. Everything's great so far in terms of the taxonomy and the hierarchy. So it's going into neighborhood, it's going into Adams Morgan. So presumably if I were to click gallery, history, or points of interest, it should just say Adams Morgan / gallery, history, points of interest, places. So if I'm going to go into places, it should say that, but it just jumps back to places. Places is another custom post type I made. And the way that, okay, well, here in neighborhood, oh, well, I don't know what I just said. Okay, here in neighborhood, this Adams Morgan name, that's where it's pulling it from. This is just creating a neighborhood. So I don't really need help with that. When I go into places, though, the way I associate what shows up on this list under any particular neighborhood is, let me find this one first, the red building. This might take me a minute. See if I could just find it here. okay, so the red building's right here. So if I go to the red building and I go inside here, all I've done here is just have this neighborhood taxonomy. I just check Adams Morgan, and then it associates it, or I check the neighborhood name, and it associates it with that neighborhood, and then creates this link, which again is being pulled from this main place name in this case. So if I go into the places, again, it'll actually show places, the red building. I feel like there's a problem here. And now I'll actually get to what the problem is. If I open another tab, neighborhoods, and I go to Adams Morgan, I think this is how I can recreate the problem to understand what's going on here. If I go to history, and now I'm going to go to another neighborhood. I still have that tab open. I'm going to go to this one, Capitol Hill, and I'm going to go to the history of Capitol Hill. Okay, right now I can't for some reason recreate the error. But see what just happened there? I refreshed it and it brought me to Capitol Hill. I had two different tabs open. What seems to be happening is that when there's two different tabs, if I were to refresh this page, it'll just take me to the one. If I were to refresh this page, it'll just take me back. So if I go here now to neighborhoods, and I go back into Adams Morgan, I'll actually get to Adams Morgan, I think. Any of these pages will do the same thing. Let's just go to this one, points of interest. It'll actually show the proper content for this neighborhood. But if I were to go open another tab, it seems to be opening two instances of the site. If I were to go to interests, points of interest, bam, it takes me to Adams Morgan instead of taking me to the page I was just on. So there seems to be some problem here with having multiple tabs open and searching different things. So it's just a matter of time before this bug will cause, I think, greater problems. I don't know what is the root of the problem. One possibility, I believe, is if I just go to a single neighborhood PHP page. The last developer that worked on this put this at the top of the PHP obs start. So it's some method or some function. And I don't know if it's actually in the functions file because it's not actually inside here. But I think this is causing the problem. Or here also. She created this kind of set cookie neighborhood place post name. And I don't know if this has anything to do with it or the cookie path or the cookie domain. But it's causing a problem, particularly with that. So again, to recreate the bug, it doesn't matter what neighborhood, the same thing will happen for every single neighborhood. I'll open Capitol Hill this time again. Okay, I'll go to any of these subpages. Let's just go to history. And then now I'm going to open in a new tab the neighborhoods again. I'm going to go to a different neighborhood. I'm going to go to Columbia Heights. Okay, and I'm going to go to history. Okay, so now I have it here, right? If I were to go to points of interest here, it'll take me to Columbia Heights. It doesn't matter, it's a vice versa thing. Like if I open this tab and then here I refreshed, it just, whatever tabs are open, it always references the same neighborhood. So in other words, I can't open different neighborhoods in different tabs. And I can on the first page, so I can get to the neighborhood. That's not the problem. But once I go into, and I can get to interior content, so I'm going to get to interior content for Chevy Chase. But now look, I'm going to go back to this tab. I'm going to go to points of interest, and I'll be taken to Chevy Chase's points of interest, which, as you can see, has no content. And then if I go back to the third tab, doesn't matter how many tabs I have open, if whatever I go to, it seems like it's taking the menu and adapting it to the most recent neighborhood that was opened. And I believe it's because of that, because there is no reference now to the neighborhood anymore. For example, I'm going to go to neighborhoods here, you'll see that it's clearly referencing the neighborhood. I'm going to go into Brooklyn. It's going to show neighborhood Brooklyn. So it's calling the post type neighborhood and calling Brooklyn. What happens is once I click in history, it no longer says neighborhood Brooklyn history. It just jumps to history stats. So what I think is happening is that if you're on one tab, it's okay. You can go to every neighborhood and touch on everyone's history and points of interest. As long as there's one tab. When there's two, now it seems that what's happening is the URL is losing its point of reference. It doesn't know where it is anymore because the path is, it's removed the neighborhood and it's removed the actual name of the neighborhood. And I think that is what is causing this refresh problem, but I don't know why it cuts off the neighborhood and the actual name of the neighborhood. So in other words, if this were neighborhood and then Brooklyn history stats, this will probably take me to a page not found because it wasn't, the hierarchy wasn't structured properly. And so I need help with someone to help me figure out. There's not a lot of files in here, so I feel like the person who is competent in PHP and would be able to debug this in less than 10 hours. But essentially you can tell it has to do with this path. It has to do with the fact that it resets. So again, if going to neighborhoods, because these are all the neighborhoods we have, going into Mount Pleasant, which is a neighborhood, it goes to neighborhood Mount Pleasant, but then all these subcategories, when you click on them, it just removes the path and just goes back to the history stats. It's pulling the correct content. So if this were a place, it's pulling the gallery, I'm sorry, if I go to a neighborhood and I go to, which one am I in? Mount Pleasant. I go to neighborhood, I go to Mount Pleasant, I open it, let me see what page I'm on again. I'm on the history, and then if I go down to history, it's pulling it from this custom post type. So this field. So this plugin custom fields is how I've created all the fields within each post type. So it is important that you understand I'm using two plugins, one called Advanced Custom Fields that creates the fields within the custom post type, and I'm using this custom post type plugin, which you can see in the plugins folder. So if you've never heard of custom post type UI, it's a very widely used plugin, and so is ACF, Advanced Custom Fields. If you go to that one, you'll also be able to get the information you need about, well, who makes this Advanced Custom Fields. And they even have resources and the functions and everything. So again, the right kind of person, a competent PHP WordPress developer should be able to debug this pretty quickly and figure out why the sub-navigation on every neighborhood suddenly changes the path. The URL path suddenly gets cut off, and this is causing, again, this refresh error. So when I go to places, it's going to take me to Mount Pleasant. See? It just took me back to the other tab here that was referencing. And if I go here and go to history, it's again going to reference Mount Pleasant, not Chevy Chase, not the neighborhood it was just in, which it should. And I really believe it's because of this path URL problem. So those are my two main problems. The one that's on the neighborhoods page, the taxonomy issue, and then the opening multiple neighborhoods in different tabs because of the path structure. So I can give access to the site to any developer that needs it. Obviously, you would need that. But those are the two problems that I need help with. Thank you.